All right, we are on. Hey guys, it is Dr. Jason. Hello, good to see you. Wellness Way, Knoxville. And as I said in the title of this, I want to talk to you guys about the secrets of balancing your hormones. And so if you will hang with me through this video, at the very end, I'm going to give you 3 secrets, 3 things that you guys can do, especially women, that you can use to help to balance your hormones, help you to function better and be healthier, things that don't cost you a dime. So how about that? Pretty sweet, huh? So I want to tell you kind of how I got into this and the story behind kind of how I got into Wellness Way and how trying to balance hormones is just so critical to our health and how we function and how we feel. So my wife had uterine fibroids. Her cycle every month was just terrible. And going to her medical doctor, and I didn't know the stuff that I'm going to be teaching you guys right now, but going to her medical doctor, obviously they didn't really do a whole lot of tests. They look at their things and obviously recommend a hysterectomy. And wasn't a big fan of that, but it got so bad that she was just like anything to make it stop. And so she ended up having a full hysterectomy. And she woke up, had the little estradiol patch on her, and she had a reaction to the estradiol patch, and so they had to give her a different medication, and it was like her hormones were all over the place. And she looked at me one day and she said, I see how somebody could kill somebody when their hormones are off. And I was the only one around, so that wasn't real comforting to me, right? But anyway, so we went through all of this, and I kept expecting them to be testing her hormones and to find out what's going on and help us to balance that out so that she can, live like she was living before and have normal experiences and normal life. And it never happened. They never tested. They just throw another drug at her and throw another drug at her, and they didn't test anything. And very frustrating with all of that. And so, their final answer was, well, you can take Prozac. I was like, well, that's great. She's not crazy, but that was their answer. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that really struggle with whether it's endometriosis or uterine fibroids or just a terrible cycle every month, or guys, you hear all this where there's all the low testosterone centers popping up all over the place. Everybody, their hormones are all out of balance. They're all out of whack, and people are looking for answers. And unfortunately, the answers that they're getting really aren't, in my opinion, they're not great answers. They're not really good outcomes that you have. And so, women, I'll tell you this. This is what's kind of crazy, right? So, women, you've heard of estrogen. Yes? Yes. So, here's the secret. There's no such thing as estrogen. There are estrogens. It's a class of hormone. There's actually 10 different estrogens. So let me ask you women out there, when was the last time that you had all 10 of your estrogens tested? Probably never, right? Most of the time, they may test you for one. They usually test you for estradiol. And the reason for that, just to kind of step back and tell you a little background, is, if you look at our medical system, the analogy we like to use at Wellness Way is kind of fire department and carpenter mentality. So if you're if your house is on fire, right, you're going to call 911, the fire department's going to come out, and they got their axes and their hoses, and they're going to knock your door down, and they're going to spray your house down, and hopefully they save your house, right? And you're going to be very thankful for that. Well, that is a great analogy of how our medical system is. They are amazing at saving lives. Emergency care in this country is the best in the world. So if you have a heart attack or you're having some life-threatening issue, this is where you want to be. They're amazing at putting out fires. But you don't come to ask the fire department then to come back the next day with their axes and their hoses to rebuild your house. They have the wrong tools. And it's the same thing with our medical system. They're not about building your health. They're about fighting disease. They're about putting out fires. And so most of the time they never test for the other 9 hormones because they don't have a treatment for that. That's not what their focus is. They don't have any type of care to give you for imbalance with the other hormones. So, most ladies know that if you have too much estrogen, right, that can lead to breast cancer. But a lot of people don't realize if you don't have enough estrogens, then that can lead to cancer and depression, osteoporosis. It can give you mood swings. It can give you breast changes. Your hormones really dictate your life and the quality of your life. And so, if your doctor doesn't test all of those different hormones, how can they really give you a complete picture of what's going on? Another great analogy, it's like when you go to the movies and they show you the previews, and you're watching the previews and you think, oh man, this movie looks great. And then you go and you watch the movie and the whole movie just stinks, right? They showed you the best part of the movie in the preview, but it didn't give you the whole picture of what was going on. Well, if you don't test all the hormones, that's exactly what we're doing. We're seeing one little snippet of what's going on with one little hormone and not looking at the whole picture and seeing what's going on with that. And so if you don't have the full picture, it's hard to understand what direction we need to go. So let's talk about the things then that do affect your hormones. For women, the number one thing that's killing you guys is mental stress. You have to learn to deal with your mental stress, and you got to do things to deal with your stressors. So you probably heard of progesterone, right? So progesterone kind of counterbalances all your estrogens. But what happens is your estrogens are an end-stage hormone, and what I mean by that is you either use it or it's released from the body. Your progesterone is a totally different story. Your progesterone actually gets converted to cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So if you're under a lot of stress, you take this one progesterone that's supposed to balance your estrogens and you deplete it because it's all being converted to cortisol when you're under a lot of stress. So even if you have a normal level of estrogens, which is all they would test for, even if you had a normal level of estrogens, your body, you can be a mess. You can be all over the place in how you feel and how you function. And so it's really important, especially for women, to learn how to deal with those stressors. So, so many times when the mental stress is what depletes those hormones, and it'll cause you to be majorly sick. So you got to work on that. Estrogens are a very connective hormone. That's why women think of everything and everyone. Testosterone is the exact opposite. Testosterone is very linear. That's why guys focus on one thing. Whatever it is, that's what they're focused on. Whether it's business, sex, life, work, whatever, that's what they're focused on when they're focused on it. So whereas mental stress is the number one thing that tears up women's health, for guys, it's actually sugar. Believe it or not, when you hit your testosterone, if you have a lot of sugar in your diet, or if you're diabetic and there's a lot of sugar in your blood, your testosterone gets converted to estrogens. So if you want your guy to be healthy, if you're a guy, cut out the sugar. You're going to function a lot better. Your estrogens will be a lot better if you don't have a lot of sugar in your diet. So that is really, really important. But one thing, and it's kind of I know I labeled this balancing your hormones. Really, there's no such thing as balancing your hormones. Your hormones are always a secondary problem. And what I mean by that is your hormones don't go bad and cause all these other issues. It's you have all of these other issues, and because of that, it throws these things out of balance. And so you have to look at, well, what are the things then that are causing the imbalance? What are the stressors? What are the things that create inflammation? So, again, with women, we talked about mental stress and how important that is, but it could be toxins. It could be the food that you eat. I've seen people's lives that were wrecked from eating avocados. They loved avocados and they didn't know they had a food allergy to that. So again, those are things that we can test for. But if you have toxins in your environment, whether it's the food you eat or the chemicals that you use to clean, or if there's mold in your environment, obviously those things are stressors and can affect your health. And then obviously trauma, right? So if you've been in a car accident, if you have, like most people, you're on your phone and you have a forward head weight and it creates an enormous amount of stress and pressure in the neck and the upper back, well, that causes inflammation in the joints. That sends stress signals to the brain, and it causes all of that. It causes your body basically to live in fight or flight. And so those are things that you've got to learn to deal with. And those are all things that we can test for. Again, we can test and find out where your estrogens are, where your testosterone is. We can test and get a very complete picture of if you have food allergies or if there's other things that are breaking down your health. And then even from just looking at x-rays, we can see what's going on with the spine, if there's inflammation, if there's degeneration, what's going on with posture, and all of those things. And it gives us all kinds of clues, because what happens is when you're conscious of your stressors, when you're conscious of the things that are breaking your health down, then you're more likely to correct them and to take control over that. And so those are some things that can make a really big difference. And so, as I told you guys in the beginning, I wanted to give you 3 things that, especially women, that you can do to help, quote unquote, balance your hormones. So first, without being tested, you can eliminate gluten, dairy, and soy. Most of the gluten, dairy, and soy are very inflammatory, whether you have food allergies to those or not. Those things all cause inflammation, and if you can eliminate those from your diet, you're going to function a whole lot better. I know that's not easy to do, but that's something to start looking at, because the more you can eliminate that from your diet, the healthier you're going to be. Second, women, shut your body down at 9 o'clock. The way our circadian rhythms work, your body, you're going to get your best rest, you're going to get your best sleep if you're shutting off the TV, if you're shutting off the phone, if you're getting in bed and shutting down at 9 o'clock. You really know it gets hard, especially when the days get longer. That may be tough, but especially if you're really struggling with some health issues and hormone issues, to get a good night's sleep will make a really big difference in how you function and how you feel with that. And then the other magic bullet for women, just learn to say no. Right? You say yes to everything. Again, you guys care about everything, you worry about everything, and you typically say yes to everything. So learn to say no. Have some boundaries, and so that you don't have all those mental stressors going on in your life. And again, for the guys, just starve them, right? You could give them the sugar. You can do intermittent fasting. That would be great for them, or even do a 72-hour fast. Again, if your health is up for that, that can be really important. That can really help to supercharge a guy and help get his testosterone back to where it needs to be. So those are some simple things that can make a really big difference. I wish that I had known these things as I was working with my wife, and before we had the hysterectomy. I mean, literally, at times we mourn her uterus and what's happened, because it's just, once you go down that road, you can't undo it. And I would love the opportunity, especially if you're struggling with these issues, to help guide you on this. We know what we're doing. We can do some full testing and get a complete picture of what's going on with your health and your hormones, and help you get back on track and finding out what your stressors are that are breaking down your health. So hey, if you know somebody that's struggling with those issues, with endometriosis or uterine fibroids or low testosterone, what have you, be sure and like this video, share it, pass it along to them. I want to certainly get this information out. I'm in West Knoxville. If you want to learn more, we do workshops here at the office. We call it our Approach to Inflammation. So be looking for that. Make sure and like and share or follow our page. And so you'll see when the next one, I think our next one is going to be... Actually, it will be next week, next Tuesday night, the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. We'll have to do something for St. Patrick's Day. So maybe I'll be dressed in green, and maybe some green beer for if you guys can drink beer. Maybe we'll do something cool. That would be fun. So St. Patty's Day, that night we're doing Approach to Inflammation. So I'd love to have you guys come in the office, let you learn more about this. If you want to learn more from me, and again, you can't make it to the office, at the end of each month I do a free webinar. So we'll be looking for us, and we'll put some links as far as the free webinar. But hey, any Wellness Way office, it's growing like crazy because of the work that we're doing and the approach that they take to health. I mean, we look at things from a totally different perspective. It's not functional medicine. It's not maximized living. It's not. Yeah, it's totally different. And if you want to take control of your life and take control of your health, it's a great way to go. So we're here for you guys. Certainly I appreciate you being on here. Again, like and share this, and we'd love to see you guys at a workshop or look for Wellness Way wherever you are. I appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you soon.